All right. It's my first time ever doing this, so forgive me if there's any technical difficulties. And I am a little early, so we'll give people some time to get in and hang out. Shows two people, but it doesn't show me who. Well, welcome. Let me know if the when everyone starts getting in here if the sound is sufficient. I'm just using my laptop microphone. Share screen. I want to do that. Share. Man, sound is good. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, as everyone comes in, we'll see how many people come in. But ask some questions as you pop in, out, say hi. I will wait because I am early, and then I can start going through some questions that people already gave me and answer the ones that people send in. So good. All right, so I'm a little nervous. You get used to sticking a camera in your face, but I've never done a live on YouTube, so this is exciting. I didn't even realize this Christmas tree is behind me. I really wish I could see the people that are joining. It tells me how many people, but it doesn't show a like who is joining the room. Welcome. It'd be nice if I could say hi to who's joining because I see the number go up, but I don't see who it is. Ah, Jimmy, thank you for your continued support. Glad to see you. Sea kayaking, how are you? Okay, so if you leave a comment, I can see your name. Luke, how are you? Man, I was going through the questions, and a couple of years were tough. Made me think a little bit because there are various ways, and some of them you'd think they're just like the simple questions, but it kind of made me think about the answers. So, how am I feeling about the hike now that you've had time to process? I have a lot of feelings about it. I'll go into more. I'll answer that one first. Let's just do because I scheduled it for 6:15. So let's give everyone a few minutes. But I will go into how just I'm feeling post hike. I got done and hung out a couple days in Maine, and then I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days. Took the bus home, and I got really sick for like over 3 weeks, honestly, before I was feeling 100%. So that was a bummer, but I'm feeling good now, so I can actually get stuff done, job applications, emails, calling, all that stuff. But it was rough. It was I don't know if I got COVID because it just never it was like every day I thought I was going to feel better. The next day I would feel worse. And then it was like every other day I'd feel a little all right and then I just had no energy. It was like that kind of sickness where you have to give yourself a pep talk just to go to the grocery store because you just have no energy to get off the couch. So maybe the whole hike just hit me all at once, and my body was like, "Yep, we're not going anywhere." 6:14. How is everyone? I can't see. It doesn't show me. I probably just don't know how to do it. It's the first time I've done live, but it doesn't show me if you come in the room. It just tells me, at least what I'm seeing, how many people. So if you come in, even if you don't have a question, feel free to say hi. Tell me what you're eating for dinner. Anything fun you've done? Plans, travel plans, hiking plans. Comment away. All right. 6:14. Oh, actually, that's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to switch tabs and hopefully it doesn't interrupt the video. But if it does get interrupted, you guys got to let me know. All right. I'm looking in another tab so I can see the questions. And I just went back. Video still good. Didn't skip out for anyone. Still good. All right. Perfect. Noob, ask away, man. No silly questions. Well, maybe, but ask them anyway. All right. So it is 6:15. If anyone joins, they can ask. I don't mind repeating questions, but how do I feel about the hike now that I've had time to process it? Well, going back to what I said, I got sick and I was super excited to have time to process it. And I did a little bit, a few days in Maine, but it's still that surreal feeling. And then I got sick and it ate up a bunch of my time to kind of get stuff done. So I'd say it's still not fully processed, but it's funny how quick it changes. Like, even though it's just over a month, it seems so long ago. But I mean, I feel great. It was a big accomplishment. I'm happy I did it. And, it was a big high to finish. But it's funny how quickly life changes. Now, the last week that I've been feeling better, I've just been trying to plan the next step, apply for jobs. Man, how do I feel about? I mean, I'm so happy I did it. One of the questions actually going in, parlaying that into another one is, could you tell your past self, knowing now, would you do it again? I definitely would do it again. And the reason is, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Hook, but I was born late 80s. So a lot of 90s movies, the one with Robin Williams. And there's a scene where he's walking away with his kids and Dustin Hoffman playing Hook kind of gives him that, I'm going to always come after you for your children's children's children. And if I didn't go and do this through hike after failing at it a couple times, when I had the time, I had the money, I would have regretted it. And it was something I wanted to accomplish. So I'm really glad I did. There's a lot that I could, share overall thoughts and different topics. So hopefully the questions coming in will touch those. But yeah, happy to be done. But like I really did enjoy it. There were definitely times that were hard and times where I wanted to wake up and have a bathroom or, just brew coffee rather than make instant coffee and just the luxuries of life. But it was an awesome experience. You meet amazing people and the views. And I mean, yeah, I really still kind of processing it, but I loved it. All right. So I'm probably missing questions here as they come in about the hike process. Silly new question. Okay, so next one that's coming in, how would I bear proof my food along the way? So for a majority of the hike, I would either hang it or use bear cables or use the bear pole, not bear, yeah, bear poles, bear cables, and the bear boxes. I always hung my food up until the last maybe 300 miles. Now, was it always perfect? It wasn't like, I didn't just put it on a tree branch, but some of them were questionable, but at least threw my food up somewhere where I thought it would be difficult for something to get. But then the last 300 miles, really after Gorham, I was so exhausted and everyone had been sleeping with their food for so long. I just didn't care. I put it in my vestibule, inside my pack, inside my food bag, and slept with it right by my head. And, you know, everything up until Gorham, I was looking up at trees and being like, "Is that a branch that could possibly fall? Is this a tree that could fall?" And the last 300 miles, I was like, "So be it." That's how tired I was. But for the majority of the hike, I did store it, either hang it. But there's so much on the Appalachian Trail where you can use a bear, not always, but a bear box, cables, poles. So I did my best until the end. A lot of people just started sleeping with their food from the very start, but it wasn't until Gorham, maybe one time before, like, but it was at like one of those campgrounds where someone lets you camp in their backyard or at a restaurant. So it was like in town. I wasn't as worried, but for the most part, I stored my food until the last 300 miles, and then, if there's a bear box, I would still use it, but I just slept with it by my head and didn't have any problems. Let's go down the list. Yeah, I mean the hike is hard. A lot of you guys are hitting on other questions too that I want to look with. Um, so sea kayaking ask or mentioned. I appreciate you talked how hard the hike was, and then there's another question. I want to give credit here. Was the hike harder or easier than you expected? So I'd say the way to answer that is individually any day on a through hike, but that's, you're breaking it down into days. That's not what a through hike is, but even on the hardest terrain in Maine in the whites, each day it's not that hard. If you are uh you know average shape, you can do that day. It might be hard, you might be sore at the end of the day, but it's really not anything difficult. Like the Appalachian Trail has some areas above tree line, but there's not any mountaineering you need to, generally. There's nothing really above like class 2 if anyone's done higher peaks out west. So nothing individually is like insanely hard, but the hike was still harder than I expected because it's just a war of attrition. It's every day doing the same thing, and it wears on you, and that's what makes it hard. And then usually when I was in a bad mood like that, it was because I had several nights of bad sleep stacked up, which sometimes you get a bad night's sleep in a hostel because it was just people snoring and loud, and sometimes your sleeping pad deflated. So that's what made it hard. But when you break the Appalachian Trail down, even the hardest section, it's not anything insanely difficult, but it was harder than I thought just because of doing it every day. And the end really did beat me up. I think some people mentioned that I look worn out. I know editing the videos, I was like, man, no wonder I got sick. I really, really was beat up, but it wasn't any individual day. It was just the constant activity of doing it and packing up and being sore and being tired and being hungry. That's what made it difficult. So I would say it was harder than I expected, for sure, to answer both of those questions, or statement and question. All right. So gonna do the PCT. I knew that question was coming. I have no plans to do a long distance through hike at the moment. I'm job searching. I'm looking career moves, things I want to do. But if I did do a long distance through hike, it probably wouldn't be the PCT. I mean, I can't say that for certain, but it would probably be the, I'm going to butcher the name, I'll just call it the TA, is the Te Aurora, or however you say it, New Zealand. I love to travel internationally, and especially I've seen quite a few hikers that were international, and it just adds another aspect to their through hike, because not only do they get to these small towns, but they're visiting from another country, so it's even more culture shock, and that just seems fun to me. So but that's a long way away, because I would have to either start soon, the next couple months, which is definitely not happening. So the closest it could be is a year away, but it's no solid plans at all. Blink, thank you. Good job. How do you stay in the mental game of it? All right. So again, ties into another question. I think it was one that said, do you have advice? But there's a for through hikers, but there's another one. Oh, was it Luke that you asked, what do you feel is underrated and overrated? So I'll go back and answer that question more in depth, but I think part of this ties into how do you stay in the mental game is going into the through hike with a strong idea of how you want to do it. I'm hitting the table. How you want to do it and your style and how important finishing to you, I would say is like I knew I had failed before, so I knew I didn't want to do that again. So that really helped me. Even when I was at my worst mood, I was like, I'm finishing this thing. It's just I'm gonna bitch about it right now because today sucks. But going back to like having an idea of like if you want to slack pack the whole thing, then slack pack it and don't let anyone talk to you. Or if they make fun of you for it or try to discredit your hike, like so what? And then the flip side of that, like I didn't want to slack back. A couple of people offered me, like I never brought it up, wasn't trying to prove a point. It's just I wanted to do a continuous northbound and carry my pack. And a few people made a comment like, well, you have something to prove? It's like, no, like you offered it. I appreciate it, but I don't want to. So yeah, having an idea of because everyone is like, I can't wait to do it, and they romanticize it, but just picturing that some days are going to suck, and how are you going to handle that? And if that means for you that you need to take 3 days off the trail and ball out and get a hotel, then do it. If you need to take 2 weeks off and get away, or I guess what I'm saying is any style, but have an idea and don't let other people tell you the right way to do it or that you got to do it this way. And that helped me stay in the game. Is like I knew I wanted to finish, and I had an idea of the hike I wanted to do, and I just yeah. I mean, there were a lot of days where I was just bored. So how do you stay locked in? I mean, I guess you kind of just embrace it. You're like, all right, well, I'm bored and I still have 10 miles to do today. So let's find a way to not be bored, or whether that's a podcast, an audiobook, picking out things that you see, like how many squirrels can I find today? Like anything like that to just change your mindset. Or another thing too is like give yourself small goals. It's nice to have some bigger goals. Like I can't wait to get halfway, quarter way, but just even every day, like look forward to that piece of chocolate you have in your, hopefully in your food bag, not in your fanny pack, because otherwise I'd eat it, but something that you have stored for dessert. And, but yeah, also just, there's nothing wrong with going into the hike saying, I don't care if I finish. And yeah, I hope that helps. I kind of can ramble on, but no questions here. Just a thank you, Kathy. Thank you for supporting me, following along. I appreciate it. Let's see. How much did it cost you? Do you plan the expenses? I'm making videos right now, like post trail videos. And the one thing I haven't looked at is finances. I know I will look it up and I'll give you an answer, but it is expensive. And I think that average number, it's going up. And I told a few through hikers what I thought I spent, and they were with me a bunch, and they said, and that's not even you balling out. Like, yeah, I would go get a restaurant meal, and stay at hostels, but I really wasn't doing anything lavish and treated myself to occasional hotel rooms by myself. And most of the hotel rooms I stayed in, I split with other hikers, and it was the same as a bed. If I had to ballpark it, some people would probably judge me for it, but I don't care. I think it was probably around $8,000. And so you're looking at under, I was out there 5 months, under $2,000 a month, but still it's expensive. And I think, I could be just under that. I could be just over that. I could be as much as 1,000 under it. I think I went high on my estimate. I don't think I'm much over that, but I think the days of $8,000 of being a platinum blaze are over. And I guarantee you there are a lot of people that were retired and well off and had the money that spent well over 10 grand, 12 grand, especially if you're treating yourself to hotels. So I will hopefully have a video with that, and I can probably won't be able to break it down because I'm not that organized with like, this was for lodging, this was for that. Cause I would take out cash occasionally and spend that. So I don't know exactly where it went, but I do know how much I put on I have the card statements, and then I do know how much cash I took out. So I will be able to give you an exact number, but uh, you know, I think the days of 3, 4,000 being the low number are, really going to be difficult to pull off. I think you're now looking at 6,000 definitely being like a budget conscious hike. But I also, I made the rule going in, I was never going to say no to a meal. I was conscious about not staying in too many hotels and picking out when I wanted to stay at them and having a couple emergency funds. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Things are expensive. A lot of the hostels people said just a year or two ago were half price. So we shall see what it comes out to, but I would say that's probably an estimate. All right, where did I leave off? So, all right. So, what are some things you would do different now, knowing now start time, pace, gear choice? So, start time. I loved my start date of late April, April 27th, until about the 600-700 mile mark. So what happened is I was hiking at a faster pace than most, not anything crazy, but faster pace than majority of hikers. And that first third of the trail, it was really kind of quiet and plenty of section hikers and spots and day hikers, but I didn't catch up to the bigger bubble, and it just kept getting worse as time went on and it was getting closer to the finish. So yeah, I would either answer that question that I would start earlier and be able to stay ahead. So you can always, if you want to be more social, you can always go a little slower. And then if you wanted some more time, if you are a faster pace hiker, you could kind of always get ahead of the bubble if you started earlier. And I think it would have been nicer just to finish like pre Labor Day and give myself a little bit more time before the fall, although it was great with the leaves turning. And then also I would highly consider. I doubt I'll ever through hike the Appalachian Trail again, but I would consider a Sobo, knowing what I know now. So that would, I think, be some. What else did you ask? Because you said start time, pace. That's another thing I would change. Doing the YouTube. Another reason I'd want to start earlier, because I think a lot of people are so concerned with the bubble and they don't realize that there's also a reverse bubble at the end when everyone's trying to summit Katahdin in the same 2 weeks because people flipped up there, skipped up. So there's a bubble in the start, but you can always, I feel like once it falls off, you can always kind of find your own space and what's the right way? But because there's so much trail, but when you're only having such little trail left, the last 300 miles, there's really nowhere anyone can go. Everyone's trying to get to Katahdin before it closes. So I would give myself more time and be able to take more days off to edit the videos because I really was disappointed that there was a significant delay, but I just couldn't keep the pace to get there by the end of September and edit the videos. So I mean, it was the right decision, but if I started 3, 4 weeks earlier, I could have finished 2 weeks earlier and taken more time to edit the videos. Gear, I wouldn't change too much gear. I mean, I'm really happy with the things I added. The fanny pack was such a big add, but I'm not too big on gear. I think if you have it and you like it and it works, I think too many people get obsessed with it. I'm trying to think if there's anything in my. I mean, I loved the bag I had. I loved my freestanding tent. I've had that thing forever. I bought it in like 2015. My shoes. There's not much. All the gear changing that I really was necessary, I did on the trail, and it was mostly just adding things. Like when it was cold down south, I got fleece pants. The fanny pack is a complete game changer. I'll always hike with that. All right. So people bothering you. So the trail is crowded, and most of it's just the young crowd. And I was there like back in the day. I would have been. I mean, I basically got my trail name because I was partying my way up the trail. But I think there's a respectful way to do it. And some people are just so brazen with how they're smoking weed and drinking. And dude, I see that, and I love like I see it and I see myself, and I'm like, I wish I could be there, but I've moved on from those things. And what bothers me is just like the lack of respect that some people have, and smoking around the corner of a deli. And a lot of it was also because people were hitchhiking the trail, so they've done the trail before, which I don't care if that's what you want to do. The frustrating thing for me was that they kept ending up in the same spots and taking all the space. And when you're already so limited with your personal space, that was such a big thing with other hikers, is like it's hard to get your own space unless you go in your tent and wall yourself off while you're out there. You're always social. And when it's overly packed and everyone's at the good spots in town that are convenient, and they didn't hike there, and they're already have their stuff in the outlets, it was frustrating. So some of it was me just probably being in a bad mood and frustrated. No one was disrespectful. I don't dislike, you know, any of the group. It's just not a group I'd want to personally hang out with, and wouldn't if there was somewhere to go. But on the trail, you're a lot of times you're forced into the same areas. And I wouldn't talk badly about any individual, and no one did anything to me that I was pissed off about. It was just kind of frustrating. And by that point of the hike too, it happened more in the northern half. So you're already social batteries low, and it just sucked to be like, oh, they're here again. I know they didn't hike here because I just did 60 miles in 3 days, and they were all taking a 0 day the day I left. And now they have all the good flat tent spots. The chargers are all taken, and but it's community space. So you find a way. All right. So yeah, I think I just answered both those questions, Greg, and then in the shadow of the mountain. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for doing it. And if they were doing it 3 days before me, like I wouldn't have even known they were there. But yeah, just frustrating that it just always seemed to be in the same spot. And yeah, no one was disrespectful. I don't have any ill will. I think I've said that, but that's kind of what I feel. All right, Sobo. Yes, southbound. So it's easy to say now because my hike is done, but seeing the Sobo crowd and having the fall weather, and I think a lot of people make a big deal about summiting on Katahdin, and it is an awesome finish, but in the grand scheme of your hike, it's one day, and the feat of through hiking is going to be amazing. You're going to see the whole trail, whether you flip flop, whether you go southbound, whether you go northbound. So I wouldn't, if you're leaning southbound, but you're like, oh, I want to finish on Katahdin, I wouldn't sweat it at all. And if you're doing a flip flop where you wanted to start in some place and end in some place, it's going to be special to you. I mean, I wouldn't want to end in like, the middle of the woods, really, just like a dirt road gap. But as long as it's somewhere that has some significance to you or whatever it is, I think it's fine to do that. So yeah, I would consider going southbound, knowing what I know now. Mentally prepping. So I think I touched on it before, Sabrina, but just have a plan of how you want to do your hike, and how important finishing to you is. And if you don't, and you're out there to just have a good time while it lasts, then go with that. If you really want to finish, just just know every day is going to be spontaneous and different, and some days are going to be amazing. There's going to be really high highs, really low lows. And yeah, the idea of what you want to do is so important to me, because there's so much information, especially when everyone's starting, of like, oh, you do it this way, what are you doing? Like, don't listen to any of that, and do what you feel is right. That to me is a big prep. And then I know a lot of people were saying they can't wait. Just enjoy before you hike. Enjoy the simple things. Enjoy waking up and using a toilet. Enjoy, if you're a coffee drinker, putting on coffee, and it's so easy, and turning the light on and off. And because the through hike's going to come, and then it's going to go, and it'll be over. So enjoy what you have now. And then same thing on the trail. Live in the moment every day. Like, if it sucks, be pissed off and curse about it, but then you laugh to yourself too. Cause I did that a lot of times. Like, you get over the initial, like, this freezing rain is brutal, and then all you can do is laugh. So enjoy the highs, enjoy the lows, and yeah, just have an idea of what you want your hike to be. Rick, thank you. I tried towards the end. It was hard. It was hard to, film as much as I did down south. I think you could see that by not being daily as much, but I really appreciate everyone, the support and the kind words and everything. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed. Thank you. Bluegrass. Gratitude. 5 months sober. Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up because I said talk about that crowd that I wasn't drinking. So let me find this question because a couple of people left comments and I want to make sure I do it. And one of them was specific. So Glenn Hikes asked me, I said in my intro that I wanted to do four things: learn Spanish, video editing, and posting my videos. No nicotine, no alcohol. So let's start with the Spanish. That went out the door the first day. I was learning Spanish in Central America and Mexico, but just listening is a key part to learning language. But I realized on the first day, I was like, I'm never going to stick to this because I need to speak it. I need to have a computer or a phone where I can look up words and verb conjugations easily. So that went out the window. I listened. I think I wanted to do 20 minutes a day. And I think I listened to 20 minutes on day one and then just never again. The next one was video editing. So yeah, you can only learn so much on your phone, but I was happy with posting my hike. So that was one I would say check that one off as a yes. Spanish was a fail. Nicotine, I went in with no nicotine and I think I made it to around Damascus and I bought a can of Zins and that lasted for a few hundred miles. And I was like, all right, this cannot be the reason I get sick again. It suppresses your appetite. It's just not good for your repair. You don't sleep as well. So I quit. And then just sometimes after a long day and you get into a town and you feel that high, I was like, I wasn't craving drinking at all. I knew I was committed to doing the whole trail without drinking, but I was like, I can treat myself to 110 and then I'll quit it again. So I think it was around Pennsylvania, I did it again. So maybe like I did it for like 200 miles and then probably 350 miles from Pennsylvania. You can do the math. The last one I did was in Rutland, Vermont. And I was like, all right, when I get to Rutland, I'm leaving with nothing, no nicotine, and I'm going into the woods and I can't buy them. And then I did the rest of the hike without nicotine. So I did, you can put that one in can't check it off box. And nicotine is, smoking cigarettes, but a lot of the Zyn pouches or that style are out there. So it was like, because it is such a nice treat when you finish a long day and you take your shoes off and you pop that in. But I don't think it's good for your sleep and recovery, and you're suppressing your appetite when you're already calorie deficient is not a good idea. So I did get on them and then quit a couple times on the trail. So a majority of it, definitely well over half without it, but I did. And then drinking, I did the whole trail without drinking. And then I got back, I got sick. And I told Big Lug, I was like, I did my goal of not doing the trail or not drinking while doing the trail. And I was like, I think I might have a drink. Not right away though. I was like, I don't want to do it right after the first couple days in town. So when I got home, I got sick and I just didn't feel like drinking at all. And then maybe about 10 days ago, I had a bottle of wine, and if I open a bottle of wine, I'm always going to finish it. And that led to like not a super hangover. And I did enjoy the relief and watching sports and just being able to like forget about everything going on. But I woke up with like a slight hangover, and then I ended up drinking the next day and woke up with like a real bad hangover. And I was like, I'm done. That was my experiment. 2 days. The next 2-3 days were brutal. Like I'm older now and I didn't even go that ridiculous. And I was just like, I think I'm glad I did that little experiment because it's just better after doing several 6-month stints without drinking. And the first one I did was 100 days, and I did 6 months, and I did another 6 months basically on the trail. I think it was maybe 5.5. I just after that I woke up and I was like, because I always wanted to hold on to the idea where I could travel to another country. Like Japan is a big one that I would love to go to and snowboard. And it would be awesome after snowboarding in Japan to have sake, and like Sapporo was such a good beer that I loved. I would love to have that. But I lived in a ski town. I drank enough for 2 lifetimes and it was fun, but I just can't physically, I can't handle the hangovers and just the negative mental thoughts the next day out of nowhere. and it diminishes my whole 3 days. So I think I'm good. So congrats on 5 months sober. Yeah, I did do the whole trail without drinking, and then had my celebration drinks, and just realized it's not worth it for me. My life's better without it. I don't miss anything anymore, so I'm happy with it. I gotta laugh at the fart in a Pringles can. That was pretty good. Uh, through hiker pro tip. Acclimating back to no hiking every day. So it's tough right now because I got sick, and now I'm trying to apply for jobs. So I haven't been as active, but I'm hoping once I figure it out and know where I'm going, it it won't be too bad because I'll start going to the gym every day and being outside and outdoors and hiking. So right now, it's more acclimating to like, oh, I gotta go on the computer and actually be an adult and not just hike every day. That's the biggest thing. But I do need to be a little more physical. In fact, tomorrow I plan on doing something at least, whether it's the gym or just a small hike. Venomous snake encounters, yeah. I mean, none that got super close, but enough to get my heart going. Plenty of rattlesnakes, plenty of copperheads, for sure. I So going back to a lot of questions post hike, did I get post hike trail blues? For sure, but I really went for it and traveled, and not just hike, but I went to numerous countries and I sold my car. So I would say instead of blues, it's more just like stress, because after this week, I feel a lot better because I have a lot more leads with jobs and places I could go to, and things I want to do. I have a video interview tomorrow morning, but I would say I'm just more, it's tough just coming back and being like, all right, now what? And having to do all that after life is, days were hard and sucked, but life was pretty simple. You just hiked, whether you're in a good mood, a bad mood, and that's all you did. So now it's a little stressful, but I'd say after this week, I'm happy with the direction I'm going in. Dan and Mimi from PA, how are you? Thank you. What was your biggest surprise, biggest disappointment? Um, Man, some of these questions I really have to think about. Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment. Um, so biggest disappointment, it's not one thing in general, but I learned on the hike, the more I envisioned something and how good it was going to be, the more it usually sucked and wasn't that good. And then it's the things I didn't expect that really caught me by surprise and were awesome. And just looking forward to getting home to family. As much fun as that was, it's a lot of things to do and people to see. As much as you look forward to whatever you're putting in there to motivate you, like getting to certain towns. I just Anytime, it's not even getting to certain towns. Anytime I had a big picture of like how awesome something was going to be, it always was kind of a little bit of a letdown. And then the things that caught me by surprise were just spontaneous and had never saw coming. Whether it be one person you meet at a shelter that you just had an awesome time with, and you might never see him again in your life, but it was an awesome night that you just thought it was an ordinary shelter, and now that's a night, and there are a bunch of these where I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Just a good conversation one on one with someone. I don't know if that answers your question. Like if you wanted more general, but if let me know if you do, I can come back to that. Videos I'll be starting. Take the hike. Good luck on your hike, February 11th. Hammock. Yeah, plenty of people use hammocks. Don't even know how to set one up, so I can't give you any advice on that. I'm sure I could figure it out. I don't think it's that big of a challenge using a hammock. I mean, the AT is the trail to do it on. There's tons of trees. The only time you might run into an issue is like at some of the community camping spots. Like I camped at the VFW in Vermont. There's another one in Massachusetts. I mean, they're all over, but a lot of them will have trees, but some of them are limited. So you might not be able to find, but it'll be very rare. So I don't. Everyone that used hammocks loved them. Again, I can't comment. I've never used a backpacking hammock, but I wouldn't worry about it on the AT. If that's what you have and that's what you like, go with it. Yeah, yeah. Bluegrass kind of comment the same thing. City nights, thank you. Is a hammock the entire? Yeah, yeah. See, because the flip side is the tents are perfect for someone lets you camp out in a backyard or behind a restaurant, but that's pretty rare. And there's a lot of times where there's great spots for hammocks and you have a tent and you're sleeping on roots and rocks and uneven ground. So I wouldn't worry about the handful of situations. And you can always find something to make it work. Job hammock guarantee. Yes, I did take a break on posting. They're all up now, but I just hit a point where I couldn't keep up and I didn't want to delay my hike. So PA is kind of where not where I decided to take a break on editing, but that's where the videos took a break. I think I was in Dalton, Massachusetts when I made that decision. I couldn't keep spending money to take 0 days, nor did I want to spend 0 days in a hotel. And it's tough to do in hostels. I'm too social to I'll get distracted. And yeah, I wish I had more time and a little bit more money to just take in an extra 2 weeks and keep it live. Because I've watched other hikers in the past, I love when it's only a week behind and you can see the trail conditions and all that. So I was a bit bummed, but that is the reason. I just hit a point where I wanted to finish. I knew I would still film. I knew I could still get the videos out there eventually, but that's what happened there. Any bears? So this is and someone else asked me this question: how many animals or what kind of wildlife? I'd say probably 7 or 8 bears, maybe give or take a couple, but I'd say 7 or 8 was probably about right. Nothing crazy encounters. A couple where I had to kind of yell at them just because we were walking in the same direction, but they didn't really seem to be bothered. Oh man, so I've turned the commercials like all the way to low, and I didn't even think they would do them. I'm sorry. What answer to the snake question? So plenty of rattlesnakes, plenty of uh copperheads, more rattlesnakes and copperheads. I mean, when I say plenty, maybe I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 rattlesnakes throughout the hike, maybe 4 or 5 copperheads, but nothing super close. A couple where you're like got your heart up, but um yeah, and I'd say those are really all the way through the South, New York, Connecticut, and then after that, I kind of didn't see too many snakes, at least venomous snakes. Bluegrass, thank you. Yes, a lot of people ask what I want to do post hike. There's been several questions that, and then so the job interview basically to update you. I'm really looking for something seasonal at the moment, just to have a place of my own, settle down, make money. But I really want to keep doing videos. I really want to make a documentary with my footage and tell a story with it. But that's going to take time and a lot of organizing clips. I would love to do videography job or even own my own media company, but right now the priority is just get a place somewhere where I can use the experience and work that I have already and just work a seasonal job just to kind of have a home base for 6 months. Because my family's been awesome. They let me stay in this little vacation house that we've had in the family for since my dad was a kid. But basically, I don't put any shirts in the closet. I put it all in a laundry bag because I'm not moving in here. This is just nice to get on my feet, especially because I was sick. So it was nice to be able to recover. But that is my short term and somewhat long term plans that people have been asking. Yeah, I would love to expand the YouTube channel or work for other companies, but there's a difference between posting daily videos and then working in a professional studio environment. So I think I would need to gain more experience. So that's why it would be nice to get a place, even if I had to do it on my spare time and work for someone for cheap or free in that area while I worked a different job. But yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Do you have plans of seeing people you became friends? Hopefully, I'm not skipping over one. Wish you the best. Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's good. So yeah, no short-term plans. Really, I have no short-term plans in terms of like adventure or traveling or anything like that until I find priority number one is just find a seasonal job and a place with that and just kind of get settled down, make some more money, and then I can start planning trips to seeing Big Lug or Tang. I had a good time. There's a ton of other hikers. Trail days hopefully next year, but again, that's too far off to talk about it. But I would like to if I can make it happen. Do you need cash, hostels, AMC tent areas, and the whites? Yes. There's only a handful of places where like you only can use cash. And off the top of my head, I'm not gonna be able to give you exact. Um, I do think the whites is one for the tent sites and the areas they have in there. But well, I don't want to give you false information. I might even saw a Venmo QR code, but a lot of hostels you can Venmo, you can take card, but it's nice to have cash. Sometimes there's farm stands, but even I mean everyone's going Venmo now because even the farm stands had like Wi-Fi, and you could like even if you're getting like a couple cookies and a soda and it was $5, you could Venmo them because they know they'll make more, and a lot of people won't have cash, but I just always liked having cash. There were a handful of times where I came into town with nothing or like $3, and I didn't like that feeling just because you never know. But for the most part, if you only need cash, the far out comments will mention that. But it's always nice, and I wouldn't worry. You don't need much, but if you don't want to take cash out all the time, I mean, I would say 100 is good, but if you carry 300, no one's going to know you have a bunch of cash on you. And uh, if you made a habit trying to rob hikers, I don't think you would do very well. Most people don't have cash, and yeah, it wouldn't be worth your hassle. How much cash would you carry normally? Yeah, 100. I think in the beginning, I think I might have taken out like 500, which is way more than you need. But I also just like, I want to have this cash. I'm confident I'm not going to lose it. I had it in a couple different spots, and I used that in the beginning. And then after that, I don't know, maybe the most I took out at the ATM was like 160, something like that. It was just because I had cash. So I don't think I took it out before. I think that's why I brought 500. I think I had it and I was like, I'll just bring this with me and I'll spend it early on. Lingering pains? No. Body feels good. I put on a little bit of weight. My sweet tooth has gone down. Feet are recovered. I actually did just have one of my small, not the pinky toe, but the one next to it. The toenail just fell off, which I didn't expect because there's no pain or no nothing. But I think it was just because it was damaged and the one underneath was growing. So it forced it off because I was laying on the couch and I was just like, what? And yeah, and that was just a few days ago. But no physical ailments, anything that's lingering. So I'm fortunate for that. Coming a little late, but do you feel like sharing about budget finances? So I already did. I don't have an exact number. I really do. I don't mind saying it because I do think through hiking is getting more expensive, but it's probably around $8,000. And I was not falling out most of the time. It might have been just under, might have been just over, but that would be around my guess. And yeah, I will hopefully make a video if I have time to go through that, and I can look at all my credit card statements and the cash I pulled out, and at least give you a much more close to the nearest hundredth or $100 or $200, something like that. Let's see. Coming in a little late. Describe some memorable trail magic you received. So down south, because I started late April, I didn't get that much trail magic. But coming into Irwin, Miss Janet, yeah, it was like 8 miles outside of Irwin, 6 miles outside of Irwin. That was like the first big random one outside of someone leaving like a cooler with Gatorade or water, which is amazing too. I'm not downplaying it, but that was the first one where like someone was like waiting there and they made me a sandwich. She invited me to stay at her place that night. So that was definitely memorable because it was the first one. Something as simple as another hiker gave me, this was early on. This was like North Carolina. When you started getting into a little bit of higher elevation, pre-Smokies, and he pulled out a bag of Reasons, and I was like the chocolate caramel Reasons. And I was like, I haven't seen one of those since I was like a little kid. And they're individually wrapped. So he threw me one. And for like a majority of the hike, that would be a go-to candy I would get because I had one. And I was like, I forgot how good these are. So I remember that. I'm trying to think. A few more will probably come to me, and maybe more up north. I mean, more personal, but Big Lug, his wife, Callie, driving me around at Boots Off into town, letting me stay with his family at the Airbnb outside of Harper's Ferry was just awesome. And then I even stayed with him a night or two. I think it was 2 nights after we finished. Before they drove home, they had an Airbnb and got to meet his family, his sister, and so that's memorable. I'm sure there's going to be a couple more. So I'm trying to get to all these. I'm not falling behind, but I do have on my screen or on my phone. I want to make sure I get to the ones that people left. And if I didn't like completely answer your question, or you like were more specific, or I answered it in a different way, just feel free to jump in and be like, tell me more. I've watched a ton of Appalachian Trail vlogs. You're definitely one of my favorites. I thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Russ, thank you. And thank you for your support today and previous. I really appreciate it. Curious if you plan to keep a YouTube channel. Yes, I do. I plan on doing the post trail videos. I actually have one finished, and that's about my favorite hostels that I stayed. I made a list. It ended up being top 8. Just because I wanted a list where I could fit a lot in, but then also have some on the bubble that were like honorable mention that I would highly recommend staying at, but they just missed. And a lot of it was circumstantial, but I do plan on making more videos. The problem was when I first got done. Hey, I'm doing a thing right now. I'll come by later. Okay, hold on. My neighbor's bringing me dinner here. I'm on a call right now, but okay. I appreciate it. I'll stop by in the next few days. I'm busy now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. That was awesome of them. Sorry, that scared me too. I was like, who's knocking on the thing? But one of their packages got delivered, so I ran over and she gave me candy, and now she just dropped me off dinner. So that was really cool. Where did I leave off? I'm excited. I don't even know what it is. Ooh, it's like a seafood pasta. I will definitely be eating that. Budget, I did that. I was just memorable trail magic, got that. Ton of what come for YouTube, what comes next in life, or with what keeps it. Yeah, so I have the post trail videos. And then really after the post trail videos, I would really love to be able to travel and make adventure travel style videos. I don't think I'll be a strict backpacker channel, so I understand if that's really what you like to watch. Not to say I won't do another backpacking trip or long distance trail, but I would love to get better at editing, get better at shooting. Just watching my own videos and editing, I'm always like, why do I move? Like everyone wants to move the camera so fast because you show everything, but it's just so much better to do it slower. And I was getting better at it, but sometimes when I'm editing, I'm like mad at myself for that. But yeah, I do have plans. I don't have definite plans because, as I said, short term, it's getting a job and a place for now just to get my own place and have money coming in. But I would love to grow the channel. And I will be posting those post trail videos probably maybe once a week. And I plan on doing quite a few of them, finance for one, a ton of different topics. So yeah, that answers that. But long term, I would love to keep it going and do all kinds of different adventure travel based, whether it be biking trips, motorcycle trips, and other countries. I would love to do that. And, even if it's just a small income from it, I would love to keep it going. All right. So let's see. Outdoor 76 part time there. Sorry, I missed you. The day came in. Yeah. Outdoor 76. Well, you work part time. Okay. Yeah. I remember getting my buff and then wearing it all the time. I wish I could have said hi. If I'm ever in that area, I can reach out. Absolutely. Congrats. Sixer. Power theme man says a lot. Sasquatch activity. Not that I can confirm, but I also wasn't keeping an eye out, so I can neither confirm nor deny Sasquatch out there. But anytime you hear a strange noise at night, it was most likely a squirrel, but it could have absolutely been. For me, no pink blazing. I think when I started, one, I'm in an age group where there's not too many hikers my age, and two, I also was not hiking to look for that at all. I mean, never fight it, but it was a lot of young people that start later, and I got along with a lot of the people that were, the more partying crowd. And as I said, if I was 5 years younger, maybe even 3 years, I would be with that group. But no, nothing developed. But I wanted to be. Me and Big Lug kind of said, and there were a few other people like this, that we were free agents. I love socializing. I love meeting friends, but I never wanted to get super attached to a group just because I felt like I needed a tramley. So I liked my time to myself, and then I like the socializing around the shelters and campsites. Any weird? Okay, so yes, Joanna, you asked me this question, and this is why I'm trying to hit all of them. I gotta go through that list, but I'm trying to keep up with these. So there was one weird situation. I don't want to give too much detail. I looked it up. I don't think anything came of it, but basically I didn't feel threatened, but I was very aware based on, I'm going to be very vague about it, but based on the details. And I wasn't necessarily concerned about anyone harming me. I just, based on some things I saw, I was like, am I going to walk up on someone that's attempting or already has taken their own life? So that was kind of the only time where I was a little on edge, just put it that way. But I was with another hiker. I think we made the right decision. We alerted people, but we never saw the person, so there was nothing like we could do too much. But other than that, I had no. I mean, other than that, obviously that's a situation that could go wrong. But that was just me speculating. I don't necessarily think that was what was happening. It just you always fear the worst when you see something that was off. So maybe I'll talk a story about it. I just didn't want to talk too much about it because I still haven't found anyone. I would like to talk to someone in that area that was at a hostel and see if they found out what happened. I didn't hear anything about it, so that's good news. That means probably nothing. But that was really the only situation, and it was I thought about it for a few days, and I didn't put it in the videos because I didn't know what happened, and I didn't want to say that just to cause attention if that wasn't the case. But it was the only time where the hair really stuck up, and I was aware of it. Nice neighbor. Yeah, I agree. I'm really pumped to eat this. They scared the hell out of me. Small brain American. Yes, Russ. Okay. So you commented on one of his videos that he recently just did about counting countries. And I love to travel internationally, but I saw yours about how you were coming from the hiking community. So I do like his content. Like I really, and I love how he keeps it simple, and it shows you don't always need this high tech editing. You just need to be good at telling a story, and he's great at that. And yeah, seeing some of his stuff where he went to India, because I've never been to India, but I've been to Sri Lanka, and I've been to a lot of countries where like just walking around and you look different than them, they assume you're a Westerner and you have money. So you get hounded by like taxis. And I remember watching one of his videos and I was like, oh, this is making me want to travel again just because the chaos of it. And you have to be bartering and making sure you're not getting ripped off. But I agree. His channel, if anyone wants to watch a YouTuber that's not hiking, but does more kind of adventure travel stuff, I would recommend Small Brained American. Hawk. I don't think I met him, but I think I followed him on and watched a bunch of his videos on YouTube. If I'm thinking of the person you're mentioning. So I don't believe I met him. If I did, I didn't realize it was him. Cyclops, yeah, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you joining in. All right, let me make sure I'm caught up on questions, but please, if you have any other things to ask, but I'm going to go back to some of these that people have asked before. So I got that one. Okay, so Hikerino asked, uh, you did a decent amount of hiking with other people, especially towards the end, and a lot solo. What did you prefer? I definitely preferred hiking solo because it's really hard to match paces with people. But there were times where I really enjoyed hiking with other people, especially if they're at my pace and when you had a good conversation and the day just like flew by. Like Tang, the first time I met him was actually in New York, and we did like 17 miles. Like, didn't even realize how far we got because we were just talking about life the whole time. Big lug, obviously. I mean, we've had hours fly by just talking about fantasy football, and this was in like June when the fantasy football drafts are still like 2 3 months away. So I do, if it's the right person at the right pace and we have a good conversation. But if you ask me, I had to do one or the other. I would prefer to hike alone, and then even if your friend's close behind or close ahead, just having an idea of where they're going to be, even if you don't know where you're camping that night, like, you're going to run into them if they stop. And if you don't see them, keep going and you'll run into them. So I like the socializing at camp and stuff like that, but hiking. So I'm actually in New Jersey, with at a family's house, not too far from where I grew up in New York, but it's like a couple hour drive. So Colorado, I lived in Colorado for 10 years and I worked in tourism out there, a lot of outdoor guiding, a lot of also like bartending, restaurant work. But I don't think I'm going to be going back to Colorado just because I want something new. And I mean, I always could, but when I left there, I kind of it was like ready for a new chapter. I knew I was going to travel and stuff like that. And ski towns are great, and I don't regret my time. I had a great time, but as someone who's trying to not work in hospitality and be around booze and all those jobs, like, not to say it's limited to that, but I guess the real answer is like I turned the page on Colorado. It's always there. I want to go back and visit. I have friends there, obviously living there for 10 years, but I probably will look for other areas that offer other opportunities and new skills to learn. So, all right, let's go back to this list. And yeah, keep asking. I'll go down the list. All right, I like this question from I'm gonna butcher the name. Yarn Werber. So, what was your biggest high? What was your biggest low? The biggest high is easy to define, but hard to single out. But for me, the biggest highs were always just getting into a town after like a 3 day crazy push and bad weather, and you're tired and you're hungry, and you get into a hostel, and like the hostel's just cozy, everything you want. And then you get a meal, and maybe there's a good crew, or maybe you're by yourself and you have a TV to watch. So there a few stand out, like getting to Damascus. I did the Damascus marathon and I stayed at the Broken Fiddle. I really liked that, getting in there, and I just beat the restaurant before they closed. Getting into Gorham was a crazy, crazy feeling. And then lows, I definitely had a few. Gorham is really when I like physically and mentally just like broke. Almost went like numb to like, wow, I'm tired, I'm beat up, I'm ready to be done, but I'm determined to finish this thing. So leaving, and I triple zeroed in Gorham, but I did push it through the whites, and it just, I didn't, after 3 days, I did not feel rested. Like, the reason I took a third zero, well, Big Lug did say, hey, it's the first Sunday of football. Do you want to watch it? So that helped. But like, I still wasn't even ready after a double zero. I didn't do any resupply. My bag was still unpacked, and I just was so tired. So leaving Gorham was kind of tough. I mean, it goes away pretty quick. And man, I feel like I went over the answers to this because you gave it to me in advance. I feel like there was a couple more on lows I could give you, but yeah, highs, just reaching an awesome camp spot after a long day with a good crew. One that comes to mind is in Connecticut. There were a lot of people going south, some southbounders like through hikers, some just section hikers. And there's only like six of us, but I didn't expect anything out of the shelter. Didn't even know if anyone would be there. And I ended up having like a 3 hour conversation and hanging out while we're all cooking food. Like that stuff like that is what, just getting somewhere that's an accomplishment, or meeting people and just having it unexpected, or were the highs. The lows were definitely when I just didn't want to hike, and I was in a nice town with a perfectly good bed and shower and toilet, and I was like, man, I got to go back out there again. And it really wasn't too many times until the end of the hike. I feel like I have a couple more on that, but those are the ones I remember when you asked, when I went through the questions that popped up for me. Thank you, Pauls. I appreciate the support, comments. Your previous attempt, how far did you make it? So last year, the 2024 yeah, one was kind of just rushed and spontaneous, and that I did like a a weird flip flop. But the first one in 2016, I got to basically two-thirds of the way through Jersey, which is not quite two-thirds of the way of the trail, but close enough. If you're going for that for an easy round estimate, it's two-thirds. And yeah, I was a different person then. I did get Lyme disease, but I was not taking care of myself. I didn't have my priorities straight. This is going back to why having a plan really helps you, and or a mindset of I want to finish and I want to do it this way. And just got back home and fell into bad habits and just said, it doesn't matter that I finish. And then didn't end up regretting it till years later. But then it really got to me. Jimmy, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. If I didn't answer all your questions, I can you can always shoot me a message on there. But yeah, I appreciate your support through the hike. I'm glad, really, all of you. I mean, anyone that's reached out, comments, or even if you just watched and didn't say anything, I appreciate you watching. Best hike in Maine besides Katahdin. So Maine was, even though I was the most beat up and I was tired and I was ready to be done, Maine was still my favorite state, just in beauty. Ooh, I really did enjoy the Mahoosic Notch. I really did enjoy. I can't remember if it was after the Saddlebacks or like I get them mixed up because there's the Saddlebacks and then there's the other two peaks, and it's the one that has like Avery Peak, and it's like Myron Avery has like a plaque. But I was up there with Big Lug and it was like perfect weather, and we were debating if we wanted to go further or there was a campsite like 2 miles down, and that I enjoyed that section there because it was perfect weather, and we both just decided like let's just go to the short campsite and stay up here for like hours, and that's what we did. So I'm bad with the names. It might have been just after the Saddlebacks, or if someone can help me out. There's another set of peaks in there that I'm blanking on the name. In the shadows. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you turning in. Easy to avoid poison ivy. I get poison ivy really bad, and I don't think I had a big outbreak of poison ivy, and I've had it in my life bad before. And you're always wandering off trail, but I also very rarely wore the low socks. So I had socks at least up to, the danger zone where you usually get it on your ankles, and just careful about not touching stuff that look like it. But yeah, I mean, if you're bushwhacking off the trail all the time, then I'm sure you could run into it. But I didn't ever have. I think I had it like a little bit small, but never a big. Zoe, thank you. Hi, how are you? Thanks for supporting, commenting. Welcome. If you have any questions, ask. Bigelow's, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I knew it because there's two Saddlebacks Bigelow's. So it was after them. You are correct. And yeah, that stretch through there of Maine was just awesome. Being up on that exposed um, mountain and on a like a perfect zero threat of rain, thunderstorms, sunny day was such a awesome hike, and be able to hang out, like making the decision, hey, I'm only going to go 2 more miles and I have all this daylight left, so let's just hang out up here until we need to leave or feel like leaving before the Bigelows. Yes, yes, you are right. Thank you. I knew there was another peaks. Is it? I'm going to say the name wrong. Deha. Yes. Thank you for that. You are correct. All right, let's go back. Yeah, keep asking, but I'll go back. I want to try to definitely hit all the questions that people left in advance. Yeah, advice to other hikers. I think I covered that. Um, do it your own way. That's my big thing. Don't listen to anyone. Do it your way. I mean, obviously take advice. Harder expected. I got that. Biggest high. Let me see if I'm. Let me see what comes next for you. I covered that. Sketchy covered that. Luke, did I answer all yours? Post hike. Yeah, I mean, I kind of. I'll go into more detail when I know, but I mean, I gave you my short and maybe longer term plans. Start date. Yeah, I covered that. Would I change it? I went to that. Yeah, and I covered would I still advise my former self. Yeah, it needed to be done. I wanted to do it. I'm glad I did it. Life updates. Where's the one? Would you learn from the hike? So you have a lot of time to think about yourself and decisions and life events. But I also learned like it's good to process them, but don't hold on to things that piss you off, or even if it's the opposite, like nostalgia, things that used to be. It was just kind of the hike taught me to live in the moment, because every time I got too far ahead of myself and looked too far ahead, it's when I got bummed out. And every time I just took each day, it was the best. And I think that that transfers over to life. And then also just everything, every action and enjoyment or misery is set up by things that happened previous. So like most of the times I was in a bad mood is because I either ate terrible or got a bad night's sleep, or a combination, or I was socially burnt out and didn't have personal space. And then just meals, like everything's set up. Like the best meals are when you do a really long hike into town and eat a meal, or even just your own backpacking food, like after big miles. And then I would eat sometimes at the same place on a 0 day and it would be good, but it was never the same as when you get into town and you get a meal in front of you. It's like the best meal. So it's like, every action in life is set up by things you do before it, and it will have results in after. That's what I learned. Like stay in the moment and enjoy it. Yeah, I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving soon. I hate that. I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday. I didn't want to say, but I hate that it's this close. Well, I wish Thanksgiving was still 6 weeks away rather than, was it like 3 weeks away now? So, but yeah, because my plan is to have the short term plan to my life kind of dialed in by Thanksgiving. So yeah, Russ. What's funny is sometimes people leave comments on my videos and I don't remember because I edited that like a while ago. So I went back and watched that, and I remember thinking that because I had a lot of food in front of me, and that was like a giant meat stick, and I did not know if I was ready for that commitment. I was like, this might be better while I'm hiking. So I'm glad you got a chuckle out of that. I had to go back and remember what you were talking about, but yeah, that's my, when I'm a little tired and burnt out, I can get very sarcastic. But if you know me, like, and other people do the same to me, I can get a good laugh out of people, and I love when people do that. Like when you embrace how miserable you are and you try to make a funny comment about it, like almost like spiting yourself. I like that. Number one section of the trail, man, like section, define section, like one something you can do in a day, a state, but oh, number one section and then opinion. Okay, I read that all together. McAfee Knob. I mean, I think it's beautiful. I think the view at Tinker Cliffs is slightly better, but I have a really good memory of McAfee Knob. So I was hoping to get up there. Man, I can't remember if I was trying. No, I got up there pre sunset, and then I was like, maybe I'll get to Tinker Cliffs for sunset. And there's not really great camping options. I don't know if you're allowed to. And there's this group that was maybe 2/10 of a mile north, so past it for me, past McAfee Knob. And I decided, like, I sat down, I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. And then it was fun. We had fun conversations. There were some section hikers, first time hikers, and other through hikers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just camp here because everyone said they were going back up for sunrise. So I enjoyed the sunrise is the way to go there. I think Tinker Cliffs gets a better sunset. Um, will you hike next year? The 18? No, I mean I'll go out, but I'll never through hike the AT again. Like if I'm going to spend that much time and effort, I would. There's other trails and countries and adventures to see. Like, will I go out and do a section or even a month on the AT at a point in my life? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the trail, but I don't think I'll ever through hike it again. It's just such a commitment in all aspects. Yeah. Number one section of trail, going back to that, like how would I define a section? I mean, Maine was my favorite state. I've said that. Um, Southern Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania gets so much hate, and I think Pennsylvania is an awesome state, especially the southern part. It's really flat, and that's before you get to the rocks. The whole state's pretty flat, but it's before the rocks get bad. And some of that terrain in southern Pennsylvania is like the easiest you'll ever do. And the towns through there can be charming, and there's farmland, and I really enjoyed that. I wouldn't say maybe it was my favorite. Um, yeah, I'm trying to narrow it down. It's so funny. You're trying to rack your brain and like It's just crazy how your memory works. Obviously, the more recent stuff is modern, but a lot of it stands out. But then when you try to remember all of the trail and bring in all the details, it's like it's fuzzy. But yeah, yeah, Pennsylvania stands out. The southern part, like North Carolina, I love Tennessee. Tennessee was small towns and beautiful country, and yeah, Tennessee section, like around the refuge hostel and Boots Off, before Boots Off, around the refuge, like Station 19E is there. I really enjoyed that section. It's higher elevation, and where like the old Overmountain shelter was. I really like that area. So yeah, thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. And as I said, if anyone has any questions, all right. I went through all that, and it's been hour. I don't mind. I enjoy doing this. So if there's still a bunch of people in here, so if you guys have any other questions or you want to throw me down like a tangent, you know, oh, I actually have questions for you guys. So oh, the hiker brain went away. It's probably still there. It's just getting better. But I've done. I can name every country. So there's this website Sporkle, and I've been able to do it before, but it basically pops up a blank map with 100 0 out of 197, and then you got to go through and name all the countries. So I've been doing that to try to get my critical thinking back and trying to study country flags. But man, that is super hard. It's getting better, but keep in mind, even though I've been done with the hike just over a month, like I spent 3 weeks really like on the couch pretty much. And every time I tried to get work done, I had no energy and I just would go back to sleep and eat and all that stuff. But yeah, hiker brain is getting better, I'd say, now as I do resumes and um, job applications and calling and email and all that. It's coming back a little bit, but I still have my hiker brain moments for sure. But I think I've always had hiker brain moments. Eat your dinner. No, I'm fine. It's something I could throw in. I'm not super hungry. I'll hang out just for a little bit. But thanks so much for taking the time. Glad I was around. Yeah. Question for you guys that are still around. I want to do. This is going to be a while, but I want to do a documentary with my footage and put it more into a story. But if you were gonna watch that, or I guess I should frame it as, if you've watched other hikers that have done similar things in the past, do you have a preferred length of time? I have a number in my head, but I don't want to throw it out there until you guys answer. Bill, how are you? Sorry, I meant to text you today about it, and then I got busy with all that. I'm glad you found me. And did you ever have any? Yeah, so nothing major. I'm trying to think. The first time I had something concerning was just after the break in New York, and or yeah, like the break when I started, basically was starting at the beginning of, or very end of Jersey, beginning of New York. And I got some inflammation in my knee. I can't remember which knee it was. And then the other side, whatever knee it was, the opposite side, my Achilles, started to swell up. And I never was concerned that it was like going to tear or anything, but it was definitely inflammation in both. And I think I took 10 days off, and then my pack was heavier. I was carrying more water. That section of New York was dry. So that really, to me, was the only time I had somewhat of a concern, but it turned out just a little bit of rest and taking care of it, lightening the pack slightly helped. All right, I got 1 hour, 45 to 60, probably 90. 1 hour would be good. 45 minutes for a long vid. Okay, up to an hour per video. So if it was over an hour, you'd prefer it to be like part one, part two. Jackson, heaviest I think it ever was when I got warmer stuff down south, because I was still carrying my 40-degree bag. Probably close to 30 pounds. Like that's like with water, maybe 30. If it was ever 30, it was like barely over 30, like not 31 for sure. But I'd say most of the time it came in around 27, 28. But then keep in mind, when I was going into town, there were probably plenty of times where, like, especially in the summer, when I was really going light with clothes and food, like through those sections of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, we don't need to carry much food. There's probably plenty of times where I was low on water and it was like 22, 21, but I didn't weigh it that often. A lot of those scales are kind of not the best. 25 PCT video is great. Is so I Liz Kidder was actually I loved following her. I think I found her by following or excuse me by watching her long documentary like I'm talking about, but then I think I went back and watched the individual, and I loved Evan's backpacking as well. That the video, both the documentary style he did, and then I went back and watched his individual. 1 hour is my attention span. Okay, so it's good to know because I was thinking long. I was thinking definitely under two, just with the footage I have. But this is good feedback. You find yourself at all anxious when camping solo? Yeah, the first time I ever camped solo, and even like once I got past the first few hundred miles, it wasn't a big deal. But even if I took like 2 months off, and if I just went out tonight and camped somewhere solo, like I'd be a little uneasy for 10 minutes, and that's why you always have a couple emergency Benadryls in your pack to help you go to sleep. But I would say that anxiety goes away, and there's several times where I was like pumped to have my own spot. But anytime you're really by yourself out there, you're aware, you're more aware, which is kind of nice if you like that excitement. But I yeah, like the first night I slept alone, I would not sleep well. I can't remember. Probably in 2016 I did it. But even if I'm around people, if I took a long time off from backpacking and just sleeping in a tent, like the first night or two of sleep in a tent is always going to be pretty poor, but then it gets excellent. Like I was sleeping so well in my tent. Anxious camping. Bill's question: best and worst trail maintenance. Man, it's hard because the maintenance doesn't always stop at the state line. Sometimes it does, but a lot of times, like Virginia, it's different trail crews. So I could honestly answer that. This isn't fact, but I'm thinking like the answer could be Virginia to both. But some actually the eastern part, so east side of the Hudson River of New York, was not the best maintained. A lot of it goes through like rocky sections, but then some of those boardwalks and stuff that was overgrown, that might stand out. And then yeah, up north, a lot of the boards were older, but keep in mind, like getting trail maintenance and access out there is so much harder. There's so fewer roads, but those are the few that stand out best. Man, uh, I don't have a definite answer on best. I'd have to go back and think. But honestly, I think the reason I don't have a definite answer on best is because the trail is just so well maintained. Like there's really not any spots that are terrible. That's why I was racking my brain on that. But like the community and the trail maintenance and the work they do is unreal. So yeah, there's really it's just I don't know if there's a trail. I'm guessing not that gets this much attention and this much work and this much donations to it. So yeah, the trail is very well maintained, and I always try to thank the people when I see them out there doing work. And I would love to, once I get this short-term situation figured out, maybe get out there and help sometime. I mean, now the season's kind of bad, but I really would like to do that. Keep the great music. Yeah, I kind of liked some of the songs. The reason I only use like a handful of songs is because finding royalty music is tough. And then sometimes you find ones that are listed as royalty and then you get a copyright strike. So that's always a bummer, but I'm glad you liked it. I liked it. It doesn't always fit, but keep in mind too, I didn't have a lot of time out there to search for new songs. So I had like 2, 3 go-to songs and I just worked. And sometimes I didn't use music. Sometimes I did a title for the intro, but it really depended on the footage I got. Well, okay, I'm getting a lot of Paul saying you a lot of 1 hours for the doc. Okay. I really don't care. I'd watch it. How much of the weight is water? So, I mean, a couple liters weighs a few pounds. I'd have to Google to find out exactly, but water is heavy. Rarely did I ever carry more than 2 liters. The only time I'd really carry more than 2 liters was because I knew I was camping somewhere that didn't have water. And so I'd carry like, the last half mile or whatever the closest water source. I would, maybe 3.5 a couple times just to go to a campsite. But the only time I was consistently carrying 2 liters of water was was New York, and down south it was not an issue. Like there were days where I joked with Big Lug because we talk about fantasy football, and there's a strategy called zero RB where you don't draft any running backs for the first like 5 rounds. And I was like, I'm going with the zero water strategy because there was a stream every 2 miles, and I didn't want to carry the weight, so I would just dip my bag in, drink what I needed to drink, and then I mean, I'd carry like this much of a sip in case I swallowed a bug. But yeah, 2 liters. I mean, you feel I feel half once you start getting dialed in. I felt the difference in my pack between a half a liter and of yeah. If I drank a half liter, I would feel it, but I would definitely feel the difference between two and none. So I mean, it definitely several pounds. Do you think northbound is easier than southbound? Huh. Uh, I mean, you're doing the same trail. I don't know in terms of the difference in elevation. If one goes up more, one goes down more. I'm sure there's slight variation. I think southbound hikers seem to get dialed in much quicker because you start off in the harder terrain, but then you get that more what's definitely easier terrain, but that more storybook kind of cozy. There's a word I'm missing right now. Charming part of the trail down south. So it's nice to end with that. So you might get beat up more in the beginning. I would say going northbound, it was really tough already being beat up from how long you're out there and finishing north. But I, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to ask someone that has done both, but I don't think it would make a big difference northbound or southbound. Your videos. See, yeah. Thank you, Sabrina. Shadows. Did you listen to any good audiobooks? Any recommendations? So I listened to just a few audiobooks. I was a big podcast guy, but I definitely listened to the like autobiography or not autobiography, sorry, biography of Anthony Bourdain. And it was really good because a lot of the people reading what was written in the book was written by people who knew him. Like it wasn't some were voice hires, but some of them were like actually his producers doing the voice. And I enjoyed that one. Then there was like a with another hiker, I asked for a podcast and they mentioned this author, John Green, and he has a bunch of like high school, not always like romance, but like just high school coming of age stories. And I listened to Looking for Alaska. That was like my guilty pleasure that I'm somewhat ashamed to admit. And it was a book that I'd seen it a TV show. So listen to that one, but that one I wouldn't recommend it. It was just kind of spur of the moment because she said it. She's like, you should listen to the audiobook. And I was like, yeah, all right, I will. And then lot of podcasts. I wish I listened to more audiobooks, but it was just so easy. Like you get the podcast notifications and you download them in town that I always forget to download a new audiobook or search for it. And they're not always free either. But yeah, the Anthony Bourdain one. Vagabonding and the Vagabond's Way. I think Vagabonding is the original, and then the Vagabond's Way. It's by Rolf Potts. He's a big travel writer, and he talks about like slow travel in other countries. And I don't think I completed that one, but that one was towards the end. And maybe not for everyone, but if you like travel, I would recommend that one. Going to get a different sleeping pad. Yes, I actually want to. It's just right now getting gear fixed, but I do want to write them an email and just tell them what happened. And because it wasn't a pop that I caused, it was clearly just the the little dimples were wearing. So I do want to write an email and just explain, and maybe they'll give me a new one. But yeah, that's something. Once I get the next couple weeks figured out, hopefully I can send that email. Was it hard to find water? For the most part, no, but occasionally it was. New York, towards the end, we were in a drought, but Maine is just, it's crazy because Maine, you see how low the water is, but there's still, because of the terrain up there and the snowfall they get, there was still water. So for the most part, no, but if it's very conditional year to year, it could absolutely be hard if it's a really dry drought year. 60, 90 minutes. All right. Another one. A liter of water is 2.2 pounds. All right, there you go. So 2 liters is 4.5 pounds if you round up. So yeah, you feel it. That's why you can feel half a liter when you drink it. Charging electronics, I used this might have been the only piece of gear I had that I could just reach and grab, but I use an Anchor 20,000 um charging block and takes a long time to charge. Like if it's fully empty, it's like 6 hours. But if you leave town with that fully charged, even with editing videos in my tent, you'll always have charge unless you're just being absolutely careless. Never on the trail was I worried I was going to run out. So that, and then so much of the trail on the AT, you're in town pretty frequently, and there's always places. Even if you didn't have a big storage block, you can charge up at a deli. But I would recommend, if you wanted to say wait, get a 10,000 one. I went with the 20 because I wanted to never run out with filming on my phone and editing. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. And what's nice about it is it takes 6 hours when it's full, but if you only use half of it, then it only takes half the time to get it back to full. So I miss all those curse words. Not even one on the live stream. I know I'm like, feel like I'm in a job mode interview, and plus I'm like happy, I'm comfortable, I'm inside. So if you guys ask me a question, but I can't fake the cursing. I need to be outside with rain on me or pissed off and tired. Sonny Jim, Papa Bean, how are you? We did share a hot tub together. Did you finish your hike? I've been following your shorts. 150 miles ago. Okay, your answer. I just keep reading. You're asking me a question. Thanks. I do follow your shorts. I don't always get them, but I get the notifications, and I loved seeing where you were. I can't remember. Oh, you stayed at. I saw one where you stayed with Lil John and the hostel there, like by Lehigh Gap. So yeah, keep them coming. 150 miles. So I don't want to say congrats yet, but hopefully I can say that to you in a couple weeks or less. Send me just Joshua. I stayed in a shelter in Maine. You tented in Maine. Forgot what shelter. Lugging it up, going on to the mountain lake. Yes, yes, I can picture it. I can't tell you the name. Thank you. Were you going south? Just Josh and you? Were you coming from Shaw's just like the day before, something like that? Samsung or iPhone? I use the iPhone 15. And then I also filmed take like if you're I also filmed on a GoPro. I which made editing harder, but the footage better. Some things are better for your phone, some things are better for the GoPro. But yeah, I have an iPhone, and what are they at, 17 now? So I had a 15, fairly new, but all the cameras are. If you're, I don't know if you're asking just what I use or if you're thinking about vlogging. Main regard to water or drought all summer. Yeah, Maine was dry, but that's I guess my point was, like, if it was any other state, like, there would be, like, like, if that happened in New York, there would be nowhere to get water. It just shows you the terrain that Maine has. Like, it has its big waterways that will get very low, but they're still there. So it could have been worse with water. There was a couple dry sections, but down the first month I was out there, like May, it was basically first month, there was so much water and rain that didn't have to worry about. And the few spots, Pennsylvania had a few dry spots, but there are a lot of water caches. There are water caches in New York as well. 3 questions. What is it? Okay, let me try to break this down. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate a typical average day? Your worst day? Okay, now I see the question. Typical average day? I mean, most days, like, I was pretty pumped. Like, average day, like 7. And then worst day, honestly, even on the days where I was like, didn't feel like hiking, it wasn't like anything miserable in terms of like being uncomfortable. If you're talking about on a comfort scale, like it got down there a couple times raining. But even on my worst days, I might have been over it. But I realized the fact that I was hiking on this adventure, and as much as today sucks, I'm going to be somewhere else. I mean, maybe my lowest day was like a 3 or 4, something like that. But I'm also judging that on a scale of like a 1 is or a 0 is like completely miserable. Something terrible happens or anything like that. And then Yeah, high is like I wouldn't say anything lists as a 10, but there are a lot of eights and nines for high. And then overall, yeah, I would say overall experience, same thing, right in that 7, 8 range. It's I like this question. It's making me think. I might regret, not regret, but I might rethink. And but yeah, yeah, I would say most days are still good. 7, you wake up, you're in a good mood. Even just sometimes you have to understand too, like sometimes bitching helps. Like if I'm ever working a bad job, like in the past when I was younger with friends, like I like to just bitch and people laugh at it and you laugh and sometimes they laugh at you because it just makes it easier. So that's also my way of just dealing with it. And yeah, yeah, there's definitely lows out there. The Gorham low was pretty bad. I'd say yeah, 3. Gorham, I was pretty beat up and broken and numb by then, and then I still had the toughest or one of the toughest sections to do. Busted your tooth, got it fixed today. Oh man, big day towards the end. Did you bust your tooth like recently? Yeah, that's the other thing too. Maine, you can also fill up at the ponds. It's not like filling up at a beaver pond in New Jersey. Most of the ponds there are good. All right. Oh, last question, and then I'm in no rush, but and people are still here enjoying it. But if you have any other questions, ask them or send me on a rant. But the other thing I would ask is, you guys answered the if I did a documentary, the length, but then how many of you, and be honest, because I know when I started watching YouTube a lot, I would only watch through hikers and then not really want to watch other things. But how many people would be interested in this channel or just watch other travel or outdoor things, whether it be, people doing bike packing trips, other trails, travel to other countries, motorcycle trips. I'm kind of curious, and be honest, like if you only watch backpacking videos, that's fine. I just want to kind of get a feel for how much, I wouldn't produce videos where I'm just showing you my daily life, but if I did have some kind of travel adventure and I documented, how many people would be interested. Yeah, you just left Shaw's. Yeah, Roadhouse Hostel. So I don't want to give away too much because I just finished my first post trail video is going to be my favorite hostels, but in order to make the list, I had to stay at them. So there are hostels that are left out, but the only reason is I didn't go. But main Roadhouse, without giving too much away, it's near the it's very ranked very high. I love that place. I wish I could have zeroed, but it was just towards the end, and I wanted to keep moving at that point, and like to watch some daily. Yeah, I don't have any concrete plans, and I probably wouldn't do daily, but if I did some kind of travel adventure, you know, maybe weekly, maybe 2 times a week, something like that, and just break them into episodes. But I know some people do like the daily routine of like watching every day. The only problem is the Appalachian Trail is just so meant for doing daily or every other day video because you're watching them hike there's a start, this defined start and finish, and not all travel adventure travel has that. Bike packing, absolutely. I've never bike packed. I mean, obviously as a kid I grew up in a small town, rode my bike everywhere, but I would really, I think that's what I'm leaning towards as my next adventure, which is far off, but I would love to. Mostly backpacking. Yeah, no, I get it. There was a while where I only loved watching backpackers, and then I would keep being subscribed because I'd want to see if they did updates. But then I was always excited for the next season to start so I could watch other through hikers. View and Canada takes. All right, yeah. Foothills Trail. Other trails are always interesting. Motorcycle. I would love to do a motor. I've rented a couple in other countries, but never own my own in terms of like traveling. Absolutely interested in watching other travel adventure stuff. Awesome. Would watch. Well, would watch. Cool. A lot of people would, and yeah, it's just it's hard to do a story. The Appalachian Trail adventure is nice because I said there's a defined start, defined end, Anything you put out. All right, appreciate it. It's good to get feedback. And some people do just like NHL NFL team. I'm a Giants fan. Unfortunately, it's been a rough decade. But Jackson Dart looks good. Scattaboo injury that sucked. Do you have an NFL team? All things. Yeah, I mean, Russ, I would do adventurous travel. Like it wouldn't be. You're definitely not going to see me like look at me go to my 5-star resort and then do the quick Instagram like and then I'm going to go down for a massage and after that I'm going to get a nice cocktail. Pats fan, you guys are I mean you can't complain after all your years, but you had a little downturn, but now Drake May looks good. Yeah, Jackson Dart looks good. I can't convert to the Pats. Man, if I didn't convert after this decade, that's it's not going to happen. 46 high peaks in Adirondacks or any trails. Yeah, see, I love doing peaks. I've done 29, so basically half of the 14ers out in Colorado. But like to me, just showing me doing a peak isn't that interesting because it's not like going over a peak and doing a story. So that's with things like that. It's like I would love to do them, but I don't know if I'd like want to watch someone else do them personally. So it's trying to find something that would have more of a continued story that could maybe involve that. But I would love to go do some of those. All right, now everyone's trying to get me to convert to a Pats fan. Scattaboo, yeah, Scattaboo. That was a bummer when his ankle was like hanging off. But Bears fan. Oh, we played the Bears this week. Yeah, yeah, we had against the Pats. We had a couple good Super Bowls, and it's getting rid of Coughlin was a mistake. I feel like I had one more question involving videos that I had to ask you, but let's see, 7:50. All right, we'll give it like 10 more minutes, and then if I run 10, 15 max, and then I am gonna eat this awesome food that my neighbor get in there. I'm gonna try to think in these last 15 minutes. I feel like I had one more question to ask you in terms of channel, what you guys like to watch. What did I miss? It, Bob. It all depends on like the video, but on my phone. So since I was since I finished all the videos that were unedited, I edited on a laptop. So that's why some of there's small changes. If you notice, like in the date, I changed that. I didn't add the sound effect when the date popped up, just because I didn't have that loaded on my computer. And at that point, I was just trying to get them done. So it took me much quicker on a laptop, but on a phone, there's so much because you're dealing with storage issues. So if I was just editing one video, I could get it done pretty quick, like, an hour. But then here's the problem, like editing might take me an hour. I go through all the clips, I bring in the GoPro clips, I put them all together, put the basic titles in. But then after I finish it, I have to export it out onto my phone. So I have to plug it into power, not touch my phone, set it aside. And since it's in 4K export, that can sometimes take 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes where I would do, sometimes I'd go into town without my phone if it was close, or I would go through my pack or eat or just watch movies and forget about it. But then after that, I would have to upload it onto YouTube. And that's the most frustrating thing on your phone because the Wi-Fi can be bad, the service can go out, the upload can fail. So that sometimes it would take me hours to upload a video to YouTube. If the Wi-Fi was really good, sometimes it's 20 minutes. But then if I was doing multiple in a day, like some of the days where I got a hotel room and I was editing on my phone, the problem is I kept exporting all these files to then have to put onto YouTube. And in order to have more space to film in the future and to export more videos, I would have to take my hard drive, plug it in, and then go through all the exported files, move them over to the hard drive, delete them on my phone. And so that's what could slow me down when I was doing like a big day. So there's a long editing them didn't actually take that long on my phone, but getting them exported as a file to then upload to YouTube, that's where it sucks. So a lot of times I would try to leave it overnight and for the YouTube, but then what sucks about that is if you leave it overnight and then you wake up and they all failed and now you're leaving and you're like, oh, 6 videos just didn't upload. So it was a long process from start to finish to get it to where you could watch it. But as soon as I got a computer, like editing on the computer and uploading is so much quicker on Wi-Fi. It's way easier, and I don't have to worry about storage filling up all the time because your phone storage is limited. Western Trail through hike. I hung out with bike packers across the country, and they're the craziest stories. Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you got me on something I would think about overall thoughts on the trail. So I got a little bored towards the end of just following white blazes, and I said I want to like sit in the morning at a hostel and drink coffee and have a little bit like of planning to do in terms of where am I going to go? Because yeah, you could look at the different options on the trail, and yeah, you had to do resupply planning and stuff like that. But bike packing seems awesome to me because the people I watch and hear about it, like they'll be 30 miles outside of town and they'll call the church that's in town. They'll call the town hall. They'll call the firehouse. And a lot of times one of those places will let them camp out, and they might ask them to help out for an hour or something. But that to me is fun and like flexible, and you can pivot quickly. Like if you walk into an Appalachian Trail town and you don't like it or you don't like the hostel, like you can move the hostel, but you're not leaving the town. It's going to take you 3 days to get to the next town. Whereas like on a bike, you could go to the town 10, 20 miles over quickly and spontaneously on a bike. So I would love to do that. I used KindMaster, and I didn't want to have the watermark. So I paid the subscription. I want to say it was around 50, maybe $60. And then you get more editing features and sound effects and all that. But I like, if you are thinking about editing videos, just play around. They all usually have free trials. So download like 4 of them, 5, look them up first online, download 4 or 5 of them, see which one you work best with. I like KindMaster because you could flip your phone this way and edit, because editing on a phone kind of sucks, but at least that way you can have your thumbs and it's more like a computer. Whereas the vertical, I just didn't like doing it. So that's why I use that. But I'm sure there's other ones that do it. And then once you get used to it, I wasn't going to switch apps in the middle. So it worked for me. What is pork roll and is it good? So I call it Taylor ham. Where I am in Jersey right now, I'm kind of in between pork roll and Taylor ham territory. You kind of get both, but it's just a delicious, salty, processed breakfast meat. It's better than Canadian bacon, but it looks similar, and it's not scrapple or whatever they have in Philly. And yeah, it's if anyone's planning on through hiking the Appalachian Trail or section hiking and you've never been to New York, New Jersey area, get a breakfast sandwich, and instead of getting bacon, get Taylor ham, egg and cheese on a hard roll or on a bagel, whatever you want. I sometimes do both. Sometimes I'll do bacon, Taylor ham, egg and cheese, which is delicious. But yeah, pork roll or Taylor ham, they are the same thing, just different name. Delicious. Yeah, yeah. Generally, I mean, you could eat pork roll and cheese if you wanted it, but yeah, it's generally a breakfast sandwich thing, and it's delicious. But you will be thirsty because it's the most processed sodium filled thing you'll ever eat, but it's absolutely delicious. Oh yeah, did I can't remember the other question. I'll probably do let's see. Done and done. I'm doing it through hike in 26. Awesome. Good luck, and yeah, congrats on committing to it. Do you have a start date? Yeah. Anyone else through hiking? I know people have been popping in and out, but anyone else through hiking either next year or the near future? I would love to hear about it. And also, if anyone plans on vlogging their hike, let me know. Leave it in a comment or send me a message, and I would love to check it out when you do. Watching mid-April. Yeah, I mean, I love starting in April. Like I said, I probably would change it to earlier just with the videos, but I think mid-April too. Like I started very end of April, so if I had an extra 2 weeks, I'd be happy. Planning on 2026, not sure yet. Yeah, good luck. Go for it. Yeah, I mean, it really, I guess I'd rather have the bubble in the beginning, going back to that, than at the end, because February 2026, nice. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's in the beginning, everything's so new and fresh, and it's really fun being social, and then after 4 to 6 months of not consistently having your own personal space, you can get a little burnt out. I know I did. So I'd probably rather have the bubble in the beginning, and then you can always kind of stay ahead of it. And there doesn't seem to be that back end bubble finishing until the last, 3 weeks, something like that, right about when I was through. Yeah, because I was catching up to people the whole way that started before me, and sometimes they started just before me, but we never crossed paths. And then Shaw's like the last hostel. Like there was a whole nother group that I was like, who are these people? And Shaw's was packed. So it's like you're always kind of catching up to those people that are pushing their hike to end of September, early October. Yeah, I mean, it can burn you out. I mean, there was definitely times where I didn't want to talk to the camera, but also like you're doing your own hike. If you want to do it, just do it, and who cares what, if you only film 5 minutes a day, you want to do weekly episodes. So, and you can always just stop. You don't owe it to anyone. You didn't sign a contract, you didn't put, you're doing this for you. That's the most important thing. If you want to film it, do it for you. And if you're ever just like, this sucks and it's taking away from my hike, then don't do it. But I would say, don't let the fear of putting yourself out there or burning it out, because it might give you something. Sometimes the filming part kept me going because I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go over here and see what that looks like and talk about that." So, yeah, you can always just stop doing it or change the style if you're really burnt out. Like, change the style or do what I did. I just, like, I don't feel like editing anymore, so it's all gonna wait till I finish. And yeah, yeah, mainly for friends and family. And yeah, I say go for it. I went through I would like through like good shape, run a lot. Well, I wish you the best, and I hope you're starting your through hike. Let me know the updates. I hope you get good news shortly. In your opinion, can you section hike the whole trail and get the trail? Yes. Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I think breaking a long distance hike into 2 or 3 sections, if you still want that like feeling like you're on the trail for a long time, or just starting and being like, I'm gonna go as far as I can this year, and then when I'm done and burnt out, coming back. I think you do get the full experience. I mean, maybe not if you just do 2 weeks, but I don't think there's much difference between being out on the trail. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. My experience probably would have been shaped differently. I would have met less people, but I think you get the true experience if you're out there for 2 plus months. You get all the highs and the lows, and then you get to take some more time. There were so many times I got to hostels that I just wanted to like pick a book off the bookshelves and read, but between editing and then doing all the chores, and then even a couple times where I took a double zero, which was rare, but even 0 days, like I felt like I could use more time. So if you really could go slow, like I really see what people mean by saying take it slow, because you could get to a hostel and you hike there, so you love being in this town, and you could take 3 days at every hostel, and then whether it's time or budget, you could be done when you run out of whatever you have or plans, and then you could get back on. I mean, I think doing it in a couple sections would definitely give you, maybe not identical. Obviously, there's through hiking is doing it all in a year, but if you want a trail experience of being out on the trail, yeah, if you're out there for a couple months, you would feel like that. Edit through hike videos. They hike, you edit and post. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it would pay well, and I would be happy to give people advice, but I also think if you're going to edit videos, it's nice to put your own spin on it, and tell the story, and do it that way. Um, but yeah, editing, I like editing when I have time and space, and a computer, but editing on your phone gets old, especially when it's the same. There's so many steps in just putting out a few videos. Registered February 15th. Not sure about the vlogging. Need to practice. Yeah, I mean, don't like vlogging something you have to really have watched it and say, I want to do this. Like, don't just because everyone's doing it, don't do it. I think there's a big benefit to not doing it. And but yeah, I recommend it if you're thinking about it and you're passionate about it, then go for it. So across the US 9 years ago, 4,000. Self-supported, plan to Thru-Hike the AT starting in April 5th. Curious to see how they compare. Yeah, Marty, let me know because I've never bike packed before and I'm really looking forward to doing it. I feel like 57 days, you did it pretty quick, but I would love to do it, maybe take more time and really get to see the country. A lot of bloggers. Yeah, you do. Um, I'm trying to think of anyone that I knew that I saw, but you definitely do. Everyone has a different following, and it's such a niche following that you might not know, especially this year because the year you're doing it, it's really hard to follow hikers. But there was a few I never saw. What was it? Wandering with Sam, Wander with Sam. I never saw him. I saw. Was it? I think I might have saw Stella hikes at one of the cafes, but I didn't know her enough to say hi, and she was kind of doing her own thing. But I think it was her. I saw. If anyone's watched Rissa Roams, I actually met her last year, and then I saw her this year. She was a ridge runner in the Shenandoahs. Is her trail name Mosey? I really apologize if that's not her trail name. But if anyone's seen that channel, I met her. She did it. She did it last year and Thru-Hike this year. Yeah, there was a couple. Oh man, I'm gonna do a video with some of the people that I watched that I got motivation from in the past. But is it Tom Trex that I met this year in Kent, Connecticut? And I subscribed to his channel, and he was hiking for Tunnels to Towers. And I want to run. If you guys are, if the winter months settle in and you want to go back and watch people hike when the leaves are green, someone else I checked out. Yes, Hiking Rev. Thank you, Pauls, for saying that. Yeah, I shared a dinner with him. I met him first at the Damascus Diner, and he saw me getting a to-go meal, and he talked to me, and then we both stayed at Angel's Rest, I believe, and we went out to dinner, just me and him, and shared a good conversation, which was really awesome. And then, man, yeah, I really like Hiking Rev, and he's got that funny sense of humor that like he says something and it kind of sneaks up on you, and then you realize how funny it was, and it's because it's kind of dry when it comes out, but then you realize he's being that sarcastic tone. So he made me laugh a few times. Green bean and jamless. I don't believe so. If I did, I didn't get their name, and maybe I just saw them in passing. Because a lot of times you see people and you don't always exchange trail names. See, you guys remember some things like it's hard going back trying to think of all the people. Like if I had more time, I'd be like, oh yeah, of course, Hiking Rev. I could make a list, but you guys are helping me out rack my brain. Yes, I can't wait till he starts back up as well. I don't know exactly where he got off. I know it wasn't super far after. He did make a comment to me that he thought the AT physically was way harder than the PCT, and he's like he did say he was like I hate to make this comparison because they're two different trails, but he did say it was physically much more challenging. How many ibuprofen? Always with coffee? No. Why? If I was having a slow, sluggish day and I took two ibuprofen, and I love caffeine, especially since I didn't drink and I'm not drinking, like coffee is like one of the things I can look forward to. So it was just an afternoon boost, and I taking 2 ibuprofen made me feel with coffee, it's like the boost of coffee, and it just reduces the inflammation, and you just feel easier. I don't know. That's all I can say. Maybe it's probably mostly mental. I mean, obviously ibuprofen works, but how many did I take? I didn't go super crazy. Like I didn't take it every day. And like usually when I told you I took 2 ibuprofen, 2 instant coffees, that was the only ibuprofen I was taking for the day. So it's like I was popping like 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then another two. Like it was usually just in the afternoon. There's maybe a couple times where I woke up really sore at night. I took them, but yeah, definitely, you know, at least I don't know, definitely in the hundreds something. Yeah, around there. I mean, two times 100 is two. Yeah, probably around 200. Ellie, you just joined. Will you be doing section hikes? Like on the AT or on other trails? I don't have anything planned right now. I will definitely do section hikes on the AT. Hopefully, pretty often when I can get out here. Absolutely. Sorry, I skipped over that one. So grocery store. Hi, Sierra JMT. Being from New Jersey area myself, PA. All right, I'm trying to read this question. Make sure I get it right. Did you get annoyed with them calling myself? Yeah. Did you calling cheesesteaks steak and cheese? Oh, steak and cheese. Okay, now I was reading cheesesteaks steak and cheese. No, no, but there is another. If I was I think if I was a Philly or PA person, I would. Um, but no, but there is what they call them steak and cheese, but isn't there another term that they used in New England with like sandwiches? That was because like you have hoagie if you're Philly area. Then in this area, if you're in New York, New Jersey, like sub is known everywhere, but a lot of times you say hero, and then hoagie is another one. Hoagie not grinder is another one, but I feel like there is another name. But no, that would be something that would piss me off. Little things like that. Answer this question. Why no alcohol? I'm with you on this. Early on, I kind of went over the question. I did do the whole trail without drinking. I did have a couple drinks after I finished, maybe 10 days ago, and decided like I'm done for good. I mean, obviously you can't make that promise, but like that's my goal. It just definitely became a problem, and I couldn't achieve my full potential. I mean, I drank so much bartending in ski towns in Colorado and other places along the way. I just developed a tolerance that was so high, and the problem with that is I still have it. I can take 6 months off, and like after 6 months, I could drink a whole six pack and just be talking to you like nothing is wrong, and I feel good, and I just want to keep going because I'm like, oh, I want to feel that buzz, like, and I, it gives me energy. So the problem is that like I can go to a bar and never cause problems. I can sit there and just drink beer after beer after beer. But when you do that, your tolerance just means you're used to the effects of alcohol, but your blood alcohol still goes up with every drink. So difference between tolerance is like, both people could have the same BAC. One guy's falling down on the floor and the other guy is just fine and talking to you. But then that BAC still has to get filtered out, still has to get treated. And then I just have awful hangovers. And because I had such a tolerance and my body was able to counteract alcohol, I just would get miserable anxiety. Like, and after I had a couple of days of drinking after I did the trail, I was just like, I remember this feeling and I remember this is why I quit. And if I never drink, I'd never have to feel like this again. The only reason I was holding on hope to travel is I'd romanticize it and be like, I want to be in Spain or France having wine. I want to go to Germany and have beer at a beer hall or sake in Japan. But like, to me, it's just not worth doing again. So yeah, I had my fun with it. I had a lot of great times in my 20s and 30s, but then it also started just to cause a lot of miserable times where, I'm very outgoing and want to see the world. And like, if I had a miserable hangover, I would just hate myself and just have self doubt and just want to like curl into a ball and not leave my bed. And I was like, I don't have time to feel like that. So that's my big question, or that's my big reason, I should say, to that question. Florida trails. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do other trails. I don't have TikTok. Yeah, thanks for coming along. Yeah, grinders is like another name for sub, hoagie, or hero. I don't have any hikes planned, and I was saying I do have plans for the channel, but I don't think it'll be strictly backpacking. I will do backpacking trips, but yeah, nothing at all, even short distance right now. I just trying to get everything figured out. Compilation trail between or yeah, no, not like I mean, there's plenty of places. I think so early on I said if I was going to do another trail, it would be the TA in New Zealand, Te Aurora or something like that, just because it's in a different country and I would love to walk slowly through another country. But right now I want to figure out work in the short term and then work on videos and growing the channel and all that. Yeah, that's my long story. I mean, I think I have a very active brain. So for a while, alcohol really worked for me and it helped me relax. And that's still kind of the hardest part is like I don't miss drinking and I can easily not drink and not crave it like once I'm determined. But it's just hard to kind of relax without it when you have a very active ADHD brain. But yeah, it just doesn't fit in my lifestyle anymore. And when it starts causing problems, like why do it? And I don't. I think no matter what I do, even if I start off just having a few beers, like I'll always end up having a miserable hangover. And then the way to cure a hangover sometimes is to drink more, and then you're just creating more. So it was a good decision, and that took me a long time to get there, though. I finally have accepted that I'm okay with never drinking, but it was you're talking about like really like a 3 or 4 year process of like giving it up, going back, giving it up, going back. And it just the more time I had without it, the more it was easy to be like, I don't need it. How long did it take you to dial in a meal plan that worked for you? So I'm not the best with like meal plans. I'm not the best with like resupplying. Like some people really do make a list and go in there. I kind of just wung it, but like strategically. Like going into a grocery store, I knew how many days of food I need, and I'd take into consideration, can I get a meal along the way? Would that meal that I supplement be like a breakfast at a deli? Would it be a dinner at a deli, a lunch? And I would kind of piece it together based on what I saw and what I felt like and changed it up. I uh I went stoveless for a section, so that changed it as well. But yeah, I mean, I guess my meal plan was just buy food and then see what I liked, see what was always still in my food bag when I got into town and not buy that and change it up. And if the things I really liked started to be at the end of my food bag because I wasn't eating them anymore, then do something different. But yeah, I really like the bars because you could pull them out of your fanny pack. So it was just a learning process of what I liked and then what was I sick of. Like some points I loved ramen, and then some points I hated it. The instant potatoes that you can put in, or ramen bombs with those, like it was just knowing how many days I need to get food for, what meals can I get along the way, and then what do I feel like when I'm in that grocery store. Yeah, yeah. My hike would have been completely different if I was drinking. I would have definitely had several hangovers. I definitely would have had some more 0 days. It could increase your miles, but I actually love when I see the younger crowd out there that still drinks and goes to hostels together and crams six in a room. Like I was actually just watching a video the other day of, I can't remember the girl, but she kind of did like 10-minute episodes and sections, and there's a lot of they were all in their 20s and they're all partying. And like if I was in my 20s, I would have been doing the same thing. And I like sometimes even just watching those videos that show them drinking beers and doing the challenges. It's just yeah, yeah. I'm happy with my decision, but as I said, it was a long process to get there. What foods do I eat now? Like in like what do I call it, civilian life, regular life? Whatever I want. I've been crushing Wawa sandwiches just because trying to do the job stuff and life planning. It's nice to not have to cook all the time. Although I do miss the kitchen. I have cooked meals. I my guilty pleasure is ground turkey with hamburger helper when I want to be lazy and cooking. But there's a grill here, so I've been grilling burgers and sausage and Yeah, my sweet tooth has went away. I'll still eat candy occasionally, but like my desire to crush sodas. One, I knew after 2 weeks I wouldn't do that, but yeah, just normal foods that I feel like if I want to get pizza and all that. What would I change? What's your go-to Wawa order? So it's kind of crazy. I like the chicken salad. I'll get back to that one, but this one's easier to answer quickly. Um, I like the chicken salad. Depending on how hungry I am, I'll get either a hero or a long roll or a sub or a hoagie, and I'll get the chicken salad with hot sauce, like the buffalo sauce, red wine vinegar, and then the crunchy jalapenos and onions. And I love that. Like I can eat that for lunch every day. No Wawa in Georgia. Yeah, they're starting to expand. I mean, it used to be like strictly like a Philly, PA thing, but now they're starting to show up in New York State, and I'm sure other places as well. All right, so I answered this question, but to give you, since you popped in, what would I change if I could do that? Well, I guess I haven't answered it like exactly. Meals really wouldn't change much with meals. The only thing is probably towards the end, it's some of those more expensive resupplies. I would have mailed myself when I did get to a grocery store in New Hampshire or Maine, mailed myself boxes just to a couple places to save money and have more options because resupplying in those small towns sometimes really sucks. But other than that, like as I said, I just figured out meals along the way because your appetite's going to change. I'm glad I didn't do consistent meal drops. If I had dietary stuff, then I would. Gear, there wasn't too much. Everything that I really wanted to change, I changed along the way, and there was nothing major. My sleeping pad towards the end did have a leak, and that sucked. But I was too close to the finish to care about finishing it more or fixing it more than I could. Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about doing an earlier start date and just taking a little bit more time with videos and zeros. Yeah, I mean, if I was starting again, I would say don't have a number, don't care how many zeros you do. Like I basically hiked a 5 month hike with 30 days of 0 days. So like 4 months hiking pace, but a true pace of 5 months. And company, like, I was pretty select on who I wanted to hang out with, but I'm glad I did it the way I did. I met some great people, obviously Big Lug and Tang in there, and then there's so many other names that I shared a good 1 or 2 days with that really didn't make the story, but they still hold a lot, a big meaning to me, and I'd love to see them again. I'm just trying to throw out names that you guys saw in the videos, but yeah, I liked being more of a free agent, as I said. All right, question is, how much weight did you lose? I don't have an exact number, but I was 183 when I started. And the last time I weighed myself on a good scale, like a digital scale that looks like it was actually accurate, was Maine Roadhouse. You're looking at the last, I don't know, 150, don't quote me on it, but 150 to 200 miles, somewhere in that range. And I was 164, so 19 pounds. So I probably at my lowest lost like 20, maybe just a little over 20 pounds, which is pretty significant. Final base weight. I honestly, I never did my base weight. Like I knew I packed light. I knew I kept my gear in order. It could have been even lighter if I didn't have some filming equipment and charging and GoPro stuff. But I know my pack was between like 22 and 30 pounds throughout the hike. Like 30 was pretty rare, very rare actually, but like mostly between 22 and 27, 28. But I never actually got like a true without my food weight because I didn't have a scale here, and I knew it was light enough. Which I know that's why I'm bad with like things like gear and base weight. Like I don't get too obsessed about it. I mean, you should be obsessed with your pack's weight, but if it's fully packed and it's 30 or less, like be happy with it. What else? What route down? Oh, I took the A ball trail down. So Hunt up, which is the AT, A ball down. The weather was sketchy. I mean, there were sketchy moments going down either way, but it was quicker, shorter distance, and I was done with the hike, so I didn't need to do white blazes anymore. So I took that trail down. But and people asked about doing the knife's edge. Obviously, in that weather, I wouldn't do it. But I also said even if it was a perfect sunny day, I wouldn't want to do it because I've done high alpine peaks and hiking out in Colorado, and I know you have to be locked in, and because you shouldn't make a mistake, but if you do, it can be really bad. And I knew after finishing the hike, I would have such like a not mental letdown as in like I'd be happy, but I wouldn't be thinking about like hiking anymore. I'd be like, I just finished, and I just was like, today's not the day to do that. That's another time. Day 36. I'm working on the eight. Oh, all right. So I'm gonna because it is almost 8:30, and I enjoy doing this. So I am gonna end on this, but I'm so glad you came in because no one's asked about this, and I've looked into it a little bit. It piqued my interest. I don't know if anyone else is aware, but Barb made the comment that she's watching my videos and she's looking for a box from there's a treasure inside. And some of my videos have given clues, but because of your comment, I looked into this, and for like 3 days, it really pissed me off because I'm staring at this map and I'm like, I just hiked the whole trail. How hard can it be to find this box that someone hid? And it's such a vague map. And yeah, I'm busy doing other things. So I haven't looked into it in a while, but you piqued my interest. So there is uh, some treasure box, and there's five of them around the country, but one of them is hidden specifically along the Appalachian Trail. And there's some clues in a book and map, and it was out there the whole time I was hiking. So I don't know how close I got to it, but pretty interesting. And apparently each box is at least like six figures, and then the big box is probably a million. So I don't know if anyone else has seen this. I looked into it just because I was like, where could this be? Like I just walked the trail, and after years, I don't know, maybe I'll do a post trail video on that. But yeah, it was interesting. Last day miles up and back on Catan. Feel like a Spartan. I bet appreciate you saying the documentation. Was I? Yeah, I mean, I was just getting burnt out on all of it. I was never over the filming. I wanted to film the whole hike, but there were days where was over it, and I was like, I don't want to talk to the camera. And towards the end, like if I didn't want to talk, or a big part of it was just it was more social towards the end, and there were more and more people, so it was just that much harder. And I didn't go out of my way as much to like always talk about things or show things if there are people around. I just stayed in the moment, and if I hiked all day with someone and didn't film and talk, I just went with it. Last day miles up. So I did the long summit from A Ball Bridge. So it was 9 miles to the base, 5 miles up. And these are all not exact, but they're pretty correct. Like 9, 5, 14. Yeah, like a 6, 17 mile day, something like that. But really, those 9 miles are super easy. And we left at like 3 in the morning. So I mean, we were almost to the base by the time the sun was coming up. And if anyone doesn't want to spend an extra day to go to the Birches, because you have to be at the Birches super early and then wake up the next day, it's by the time you get to that point of the hike, it's very doable to do that long summit. I mean, that 9 miles in is flat and fun and easy, and you just have to wake up earlier. That's the only thing. Total value of the five boxes is over 2 million. Yeah. So five boxes over 2 million value. And one of these boxes is hidden somewhere along the AT. So if anyone wants to go down a rabbit hole, you can look into that. It caught my attention for a few days. I was looking at this thing. Thanks for your adventure. Have an amazing night. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in. Thank you. Dude, great content. Thanks for all your effort. Congrats. No, I appreciate it, guys. Again, I've said it, but people keep coming in and out. Thank you all for watching, supporting. Between town meals, buying me whatever drinks, people that have, and this goes to not just people watching, but people that helped me do my hike and gave me food and all that. But yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. And I appreciate y'all coming in. Sorry if you guys joined late, but I've been doing it for like 2 hours, and I would love to keep talking more, but I'm really hungry, and that food that's been sitting there is now looking really good. So I'm gonna warm it up real quick and eat it. Videos, Wax and Baron. Yeah, I'll give you a couple minutes. Say bye. Thru-Hike. I thought your editing was great. No, I appreciate it, and hopefully I can keep the channel going. And I've talked about it, and obviously this will be up for everyone to watch. This is a long one, so those of you the attention span that popped in, I'm not expecting everyone to watch this whole video, so it's cool to do the live, but it will be up for anyone to see. Thanks again, Luke. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate coming in. The questions. I think I asked or answered all your questions. If I didn't, because I was going through that list kind of as other questions hit them, came in, let me know. But yeah, anyone who watched this and there's another question in the future, just give me a message and I can do that. Cool. Yeah. Thank you guys. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna sign out and eat, but thank you everyone for coming in and enjoy your night and Thanksgiving. And as I said, I'll have videos coming out occasionally in the future, maybe once a week until I run out of stuff to do.